The first thing I want you to know is this. The sound it makes when it breathes is not like air. It's like something folding itself small, like a shirt being pushed into a drawer. If you ever hear that sound in the dark, don't reach for a flashlight. Don't let curiosity undo you. I'm telling you this because I didn't listen, and everything that followed began with that exact, ordinary mistake. I moved into the apartment in late October, the rent shockingly cheap for the neighborhood because the landlord said the place had character. It was a second-floor walk-up, old wood floors that sighed when you crossed them, a bedroom window that fogged in the winter, and a bed frame low enough for your toes to catch on. I liked it because it felt lived in, because my life at the time needed fewer blank spaces. I never expected to make eye contact with the floor. At first it was small things I blamed on absent-mindedness. Socks that were under the bed when I swore I left them on my chair. The feeling of being watched when I climbed into bed. A prickly, stupid sensation like someone standing behind your shoulder at a party. I told myself I was tired. I worked late, drank too much coffee, let paranoia bloom from exhaustion. The noises started a week later. A soft scraping at first, like fingernails across wood, coming from the shadowed hollow beneath the bed. I would freeze mid-breath, listening, the scrape stopping whenever I held my breath. When I exhaled, it started again. It learned my rhythm. It knew when I would try to call courage to me and stare under the bed with the pathetic thinness of a phone light. So I stopped looking. I told myself whatever was down there was a rat or a cat or a loose floorboard. Naming the thing a harmless animal made me feel better. Names are small exorcisms, but names are lies. There is no rat that watches you with its whole face. There is no animal with cold, deliberate fingers. Once, on a night when the rain made the room smell like wet cardboard, I rolled to my side and felt a hand slide across the floorboard under the bed, stopping at the edge of my mattress. The wood creaked under its weight. It didn't grip or tug, just rested, palm down, as if it were learning the curve of the world above it. I stared straight into the darkness, my pulse doing the small, frantic work of a trapped animal, and the hand withdrew like a cat. Then something pressed something flat against the underside of the mattress and exhaled. It was not a breath so much as an arrangement of air into meaning. I could feel it in my teeth, cool, dry, almost tasted like iron. It was deliberate, slow, tasting the space above it the way a mouth tests wine. I stayed awake all night, listening to the quietest sounds, the clock, the rain, my own pulse, and beneath them, at the threshold of hearing, the tiny, patient noises of something moving methodically under the bed. Those nights became a rhythm. During the day, the apartment looked like any other. The sun made the wooden floor look warm. I left notes to myself, grocery lists, lies about meetings. At night, the room recomposed itself into a world where the furniture had teeth. I learned to sleep with both socks on and to leave the bedspread tucked tight so nothing could reach through a fold. I told myself it would stop. I told myself I was making stories to fill the silence, but it does not need the light to grow bold. One night, after 3 beers and a documentary that left my mind raw, I heard, clear as an answered call, my own voice whisper from under the bed. It sounded like me, 30 seconds in the past, the timber flattened by darkness. "Are you awake?" it said. I laughed, because how else do you answer your own voice? The laugh died like a match in oil. The whisper repeated softer, closer. "Are you awake?" Silence is not empty. Silence listens, and it remembers the shapes of your voice. I rose from the bed with the slow, stupid certainty of someone moving through cotton. My fingers found the hem of the mattress. I pulled it back a fraction and stared into a black so complete it made the room feel like a stage set. For a terrible second, I believed I could see 2 pale pinpoints, eyes, glinting, then gone. The thing under the bed was learning. The thing under the bed was practicing me. I let the mattress fall back. I told myself it was better that way. But even then, with my back to the room, I felt the scrape of wood again, closer this time, like a finger mapping the grain right where my toes should be. And I realized, with the slow horror of a calendar flipped to a bad month, that it knew the shape of my feet. It had been waiting under there for longer than I'd been awake. I started keeping a small voice recorder by my bed because rationality felt like a fragile leash. If something happened, if I woke and couldn't trust my own memory, at least the device would tell the truth. The first morning I played back the previous night, there was nothing but static and the slow creak of the building, until, 19 minutes in, my own voice whispered, clear and tired. "Don't look." It was me, but wrong. The cadence was delayed, as if it had been learned from a tape and played back through someone's throat. After that, the recorder filled with fragments, snatches of conversations I hadn't had, my mother's laughter at a dinner we never attended, the exact syllables of an argument I'd suppressed. It stitched my life into an imitation. The thing under the bed doesn't just listen. It learns to speak the hollow shape of you. It began dropping small things at the foot of my bed, items that belonged to people I loved but that had been missing for years. A chipped lighter from college, a single earring my sister lost at her wedding. Each piece came with a pressure in the air, like a hand tapping Morse code across my skin. When I picked them up, a smell rose up from them, not the scent of the object, but of the moment they were lost. Distant smoke, cheap perfume, the dry stink of panic. I held relics of my past and felt them point accusatory fingers at the present. One night, I found scratches on the underside of the mattress, gouges too precise to be accidental. I traced them with a trembling fingertip and tasted rust in my mouth. I started locking my door, though locking meant nothing when whatever lived under the bed already inhabited the creaks and seams of the apartment. I would come home and find the curtains slightly repositioned, a chair moved a hair's breadth, as if the place had been rehearsed while I was gone. Sleep degraded into a series of rehearsals. I'd wake and not know if I dreamed the scrape at my ankles or if something had been there, practicing the angle of its wrist. Friends said I sounded tired over the phone. They said my voice had a weird echo to it. Once, my roommate from years ago texted me a photo of himself asleep on a couch. Only when I looked closely, I saw my bedroom in the background. The bed was empty, but beneath the frame, just visible, there was a smear of something dark that caught the light like a grin. The most precise terror, though, came when I found a photograph on my own phone with no memory of taking it. My reflection in the window at 2 a.m, eyes closed, mouth slack, and under the bed, in the black, something leaned forward and smiled in my face. I held the phone until my thumbs ached. I played the video attached to the photo and watched myself asleep, then dreamless, until, at the 35th second, the mattress rose as if touched from below. It learned the timing of my breathing. It learned when I blinked. Tonight I came home early. The apartment smelled like the first rain after heat, earth, wet wood. And under that, something else, a faint copper tang that made my teeth ache. I walked into the bedroom, and the scrap of wood sounded like a greeting. I shouldn't have brought the light with me. I shouldn't have stood at the foot of the bed and asked aloud the question that all of this had been answering in pieces. What do you want? Silence pooled, heavy and slow. Then, from beneath the mattress, it breathed my name. When it spoke my name, I felt the sound inside my bones more than in my ears. It wasn't just mimicry anymore, it knew me. The way it whispered stretched my name into something long and rotten, as though it had been saying it for years in the dark, practicing until it could peel every syllable raw. I froze, waiting for the scrape, the hand, the movement, but nothing came. The silence pressed against me like a second skin. I backed toward the door, but my body betrayed me. My legs felt heavy, each step like walking through deep water. That was when the bed shifted. Just slightly, just enough for the mattress to exhale dust into the air. And then, a face began to push upward from underneath. Not fully, just enough for the wooden mattress to bulge with the outline of a skull pressing up from the dark. I couldn't breathe. My fingers fumbled at the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn, as if it had been waiting for me to try. Then I heard it again. My own voice. This time it wasn't a whisper. It was laughter. My laughter, bubbling and raw, the exact kind I'd let out once at a friend's funeral when grief twisted itself wrong. It replayed that sound, over and over, until the walls themselves felt like they were breathing with me. I clapped my hands over my ears, but the sound was inside. It wasn't coming from the room. It was behind my teeth, under my skin, moving in rhythm with my pulse. And then, I swear, I felt fingers slip around my ankle, ice cold, thin, trembling with hunger. They didn't pull. They just rested there. A reminder, a promise. I didn't scream, not out of bravery, but because I knew screaming would give it more material to learn. I just stood there, trembling, while the pressure on my ankle grew tighter, then suddenly vanished. When I dared to look down, there was nothing. No hand, no shadow, only the bed, patient, waiting. I sleep now with every light in the apartment burning, though it doesn't matter. I hear it anyway, the scraping, the mimicry, the long rehearsals of my voice. Every night it grows bolder, and every night I lose another piece of myself. I don't know when it will decide to crawl out fully, but I do know this. If you're listening to me right now, if you're lying in bed while my voice fills your room, don't look under your bed.
subscribe to Horror Story Bar.